Welcome, one and all, to Pacific Forum 4 episode review. Tonight will be a live reaction and review to episode 8 of the Orville, Midnight Blue. So let's go ahead and get underway. I do apologize for being tardy. I was having a great conversation with Cash Money and Baron Norman Tog after we finished Baron After Dark. I want to thank everyone for coming by earlier and watching Pacific Forum, excuse me, Pacific Forum 4 Pop Talk with Baron and Cash and myself. And also following us over to Baron's channel. So thank you very much. So I'm just waiting for this ad to finish. And I will give my reaction. I will not be on camera tonight, but that's okay. No big deal. Yeah, why not, Kelly? It's not your papa. Hello, Phil. How you doing, Phil? And folks, don't believe Phil. He's just being over dramatic. Okay, Phil, keep telling yourself that. Don't worry, you'll be on Sunday's Pop Talk. Huh? Okay, Topa likes Gordon. Gordon's not the brightest bulb. It's going to be interesting to see how she handles that. A little awkward. Leave it to Yaffet. Yep. Yep. They're teasing more tension between the Moclans and the Union. Got a feeling that by the end of the season, the Moclans are going to be the Union's enemies. And just to make sure that everybody knows, when we get to the review portion for tonight, good chance that there will be spoilers. Well, I can understand Boris's hesitation. Okay, off to a good start. I do know that tonight's episode is 87 minutes. And I do want to invite you all to follow me over to Neuroporeal Lifeforms channel after this episode is over. Let me go ahead and put his link in the chat. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. And I don't really have a grade for this season of the Orville yet. I will give you my grade for the season once the season finale has aired. And of course, we still have 2 episodes left. So, we're back at the planet we first encountered in Sanctuary. It's an island paradise. Ah, that's a pleasant surprise. I didn't know he was going to be in another episode this season. I thought it was just going to be gently falling rain. Topa, what are you doing? Oh, ooh, there's going to be a lot of tension in this episode. Topa's loving what she's seeing. Of course, it's 9 to 5. Sure, Topa does have a lot of questions, and that's a lot of pictures. Hmm. Very cool scene here. Hmm. This is certainly going to lead to a certain event happening. You're being set up, Topa. This isn't good. What's in the woods? What's creeping in the woods at night? It's behind her, probably. Yep. This is going to end bad, especially for the Union. Yep. If relations weren't rocky before, they're certainly going to be rocky now. Yep. There's certain things in this episode where it's definitely leading toward a separation. And she's not there now. She's gone, guys. It's not entirely true. Whoa. I don't think that's supposed to be going the way Kelly said it would. Oh boy. You're gonna need the Orville, Kelly. Oh boy, these guys are nasty. Charlie always has something to say. Well, she is. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-hmm. Yep. This episode is definitely letting us know where things are headed, especially as it gets closer to the season finale. least I hope it's a season finale and not a series finale. What is going through the mind of Heveena? Would it be Dolly Parton? Okay, it's a cabin. Yep. And now we get to the whole reason why this episode is called what it's called. There's some nice beauty shots of the ship in this episode. Now Topa is in a predicament. Mm. Ooh, you son of a bitch. There he is. Bruce Broxleitner. Yeah, that's a pretty wide gap. Yep, yep. Only we're that easy. Ooh. Yep. The torture topos some more. Oh boy. Kelly and Border Spirit get there quick. Oh, that's one way to take care of security. And now Kelly and Bortus are under fire. Oh, uh, ooh, ooh. Well, I think Bortus is going to do what I think he's going to do. Yep. Uh-uh. Well, damn. Damn. Nobody comes between a father and his baby girl. Nobody. And now there's another shuttle in pursuit. Make that three. Yep. It is a farce. And Gordon may have escalated things. And this is where Kelly, Bortis, and Topa show up. Possibly. Yep. Sorry, I gotta watch that previous scene again. Yep. Knew this would happen. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let me get a few things set up for the review portion. But man, this episode. All right. All right. So I do want you all to know that in this portion of the live stream, there will be some spoilers. Honestly, I don't want to spoil this whole episode, but if you do want to hear a spoiler review of this episode, go over to Nerdporeal Lifeforms channel, and over there we will be giving a spoiler-filled review of this episode. But this episode of the Orville, let me just get started. Welcome, one and all, to the review portion of this live stream. Or if you're watching this later, the live stream has already concluded. And this review portion is for episode 8 of the Orville's third season, also known as the Orville New Horizons. And this episode tonight was called Midnight Blue. Midnight Blue sees the crew of the Orville going back to the sanctuary planet where there are female Moclans. They're going back there to conduct an inspection to make sure that Heveena and the colony are not having an underground movement and moving female Moclans from Moclus to the sanctuary planet. They are to meet a Moclan survey team who is there to also check on the colony and to make sure that there is no illegal transport of female Moclans from Moclus to the sanctuary planet. And when they get there, they see that the Moclan survey team, instead of meeting the Union team, and this Union team consisted of Bortus and Kelly, with Topa tagging along after it was approved by Captain Mercer for Topa to do so. Well, the survey team sees that the Moclan survey team is not in orbit as was agreed upon. So when they land on the planet, they meet the survey team, and the survey team is led by a Commander Kadon. So as Bortus, Topa, and Kelly are greeted by the Moclan survey team, of course, the Moclan survey team is taken aback when they see Topa, because as you all know, females are not allowed in Moclan society. The fact that there's even this sanctuary, this colony, goes against everything the Moclans believe in. So there's an exchange of words, and then we get into the colony where Commander Grayson and Bortus and Topa are met by one of the colonists. They do end up having a nice little reunion with Heveena. Heveena is a hero of Topa's, obviously. And we get a little update about what's been going on in the colony. And there's a nice little meeting later on after we get this update where everybody's at dinner, and we have a nice scene between Kelly and Bortus, and one of the colonists asks if Kelly and Bortus are a couple, which Kelly and Bortus say no. And at one point, Heveena wants to talk to Topa. She wants to show Topa the Luminites, which are fireflies of multiple colors. There's red, yellow, green, and the rarest of all, blue. So while Hevena's showing Topa these Illuminites, she's also telling Topa how they have indeed started to export female Moclans from Moclus back to the colony. It's an underground movement. It's going against the entire agreement. And if Moclus were to find out, Moclus will more than for certain leave the Union. Of course, Commander Caden's men are made aware of this. And at one point, as Topa is fascinated by the Luminites, she is by herself deep in the woods after following a particular blue Luminite, the rarest of the fireflies on the sanctuary planet. She is kidnapped. She is kidnapped by Commander Caden. Of course, Kelly and Bortus don't know this, and neither do the rest of the colonists, as they are in a rapid search and frantically searching for Topa. They do not know that Topa is now on board Commander Caden's shuttle, and he is taking her to a secret facility. Now, everybody might be wondering, what about Ed and the crew of the Orville? Well, they aren't really too enthused about entering the nebula because that would be a violation of the agreement. However, they have not heard from Kelly and Bortus after Kelly and Bortus aren't able to communicate with them. The reason why they're not able to communicate with the Orville is because Commander Caden's crew sabotaged their shuttle. Sabotage their shuttle in such a way where the normal takeoff and landing thrusters are non-operational. So, unbeknownst to Ed and crew, Kelly and Bortus have left on the shuttle in pursuit of Commander Caden's shuttle. They are going one way, the Orville's going to the sanctuary planet. The Orville gets to the sanctuary planet, and Ed wants to talk to Heveena. Heveena comes on board. Heveena reluctantly tells Captain Mercer what has happened after there's communication with Admiral Halsey. And there's also some persuasion, a clever persuasion tactic by Captain Mercer when he has a holographic simulation of one Dolly Parton created in the simulator. So after Heveena and the holographic Dolly Parton, which was played by the actual Dolly Parton, after conversation in the simulator, Heveena agrees to confess to what she's been doing and how she's manipulated Topa to, be part of this network, this underground network to smuggle female Moclans from Moclus to the sanctuary. Meanwhile, Kelly and Bortus are in pursuit of the Moclan shuttle's ion trail. They arrive at this planet in the system. It's a sole planet in the system where there is this secret Moclan base. And there at the secret Moclan base is where Topa is being held, and Topa is being tortured. She's being tortured by Moclan, who himself looked like he'd been tortured. He lost the use of his left eye, and he wants to know who is the informant that is letting Heveena and the rest of the sanctuary colony basically take the female Moclans that are born on Moclans and allow them onto the sanctuary planet. Of course, Kelly and Bortus are in hot pursuit. They land on this planet. They get on foot. At one point, as they're walking, there's a gap between and where they're going and where they need to be. It's basically this deep trench that they come across. Bortus is able to leap across and land on the other side, but Kelly, in her attempt, slips and she hurts her shoulder. After putting a dermal regenerator device, a regenerative device on Kelly's shoulder and allowing it to heal, Kelly and Bortus reach the secret Moclan facility. And again, for anybody just joining, this will have spoilers, which I've been trying to make sure I just let everybody know. But Kelly and Bortus reach this facility. They get into the facility and they manage to find the room that Topa is being tortured in, as she is now being tortured by the same Moclan, but he's using a krill weapon. It's the same torture device. I'm guessing, I'm presuming, I'm assuming that was used against Lieutenant Tyler. Of course, we all know who Lieutenant Tyler is. Yes, Spock. Yes, definitely. This episode. Yes, absolutely, brother. I hope I get to see you over on Nerdporial's stream just shortly. But this episode, as Spock was saying, and this will be in the review portion when I edit down this video, just like last week's. But when Bortus and Kelly finally reach Topa, where she's being tortured, and they enter the room, and Bortus sees what's happening to Topa. Oh man, I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine what any parent would feel if they saw somebody abusing their child, like Topa was being abused in this episode. You know, the amount of anger, the rage, and we do see it from Bortus. We do see it from Bortus. He beats the ever loving crap out of the guy that's torturing Topa. And then Topa, Kelly, and Bortus end up leaving. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. You got that right. You got that right. You know, of course, Bortus and Kelly moment. Yeah. Their friendship, their bond, not just as shipmates, but as friends. Yeah, it did. It did. You know, when Worf and Jadzia are especially on that one planet, and they have to make a decision, either rescue the informant or let the informant die. And what ends up happening in some Worf's primal rage, I definitely saw that. But Kelly, Bortus, and Topa leave. They're being pursued by Moclan fighters. Bortus tells Kelly the weakness of these Moclan fighters is their exhaust ports. So they're able to take the Moclan fighters out and they set course to Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, with Heveena having traveled to Earth with the crew of the Orville to testify against the Union Council, Heveena pleads her case and says why they should be, they shouldn't be punished for doing what they're doing. They're trying to, help other Moclans who are just like them and help them to prosper, to thrive instead of being held down. Of course, there's tensions, and the Moclan ambassador doesn't like what's going on, of course, and that's even proven later on when there's a meeting between the Moclan representatives and the Union, consisting of Admiral Azawa, Admiral Halsey, and the Union president, once again played by Bruce Boxleitner. So he makes another appearance in this season, which that was great to see. Yes, it was great to see him again. It's all right. You could call him Sheridan if you want. No, Bruce Boxleitner, John Sheridan. It's whatever helps you remember the character, and you know there's the scene with the Moclan representatives and the Moclan ambassador, and like I was saying, Admiral Halsey and Admiral Azawa and the Union president, once again played by Bruce Boxleitner. And as they're going back and forth, back and forth. Gordon's in the room too. Gordon asked to go down and witness what was going on in the council because Topa's like a sister to her. The reason why that's happened, and the reason why I'm bringing it up now, is early on in the episode, Topa admits to Gordon that she likes him. But of course, Gordon says, "You're more like a sister to me." Yeah, and Spock, you're right. There are just so many moments in this episode, but you know, Gordon at one point gets, you could tell it's eating at him. He's getting tired of hearing what the Moclan representatives are saying, and he says, "You know, every time something happens, we always have to make a compromise for you. We always have to adapt for you." And of course, Admiral Halsey and Ed are telling Gordon to be quiet, simmer down. But Gordon's right. The Union's always making compromises for the Moclans. And, there are probably more people like Gordon who are tired of it, especially seeing the hypocrisy of the Moclans. But what this all leads to is another scene inside the council chambers when the Moclan representatives are there. Yes, yes, Gordon is absolutely right. Gordon is absolutely right, my friend. He's absolutely right, because that's exactly what the union does. They they back off. They go, okay, okay, okay. We're backing off. We're backing off. We're not going to do anything. But as we get this next scene in the council chambers of the union, and the Moclan representatives are saying, "You have no proof of what we've been doing. You have no circumstantial evidence as far as what Hevena's group is doing. Charges should be placed against Heveena." That's when Bortis, Kelly, and Topa walk in. And, Topa, poor Topa, because of being tortured by that Moclan at that secret base. She's bloodied. She's got, blood and cuts on her face. She's got blood on her clothes. And Kelly, Bortis, and Topa are walking into the chambers. And Bortis, Peter Macon. And I'm naming the actor of Bortis, but Peter Macon, he was excellent in this scene where Bortis is confronting the council and saying, members of this union have been lying. They've been deceitful. They've been committing heinous acts. Members of the union have tried to have my daughter killed. And, you know, Peter Macon, and 2 episodes of the season until two Topas, and then of course tonight in Midnight Blue. Man, it- Peter Macon, thank God for you, brother. Thank God. You make Bortus a complete character, brother. And I'm grateful that he is Bortus, that he was casted on the Orville. And Spock, yes, I will see you over on Nerporial stream here shortly, brother. But Peter Macon in this episode, and that's not the only thing. After this scene in the council chambers where the rest of the Union finds out what happened to Topa, Moclans is kicked out of the Union. But that's not the best part. The best part of this episode is Clyden. Clyden comes back. And Chad Coleman. Chad Coleman in this episode, ladies and gentlemen. If you thought Peter Macon was good, Chad Coleman was right up there. And you've got these two great actors playing two very different characters. Even though the characters are both Moclans, they've both got their own personalities, their own quirks of what makes them them. But when Clyden sees Topa, he apologizes. Because as soon as he heard from Captain Mercer what happened, it broke him. It broke his heart. It broke his heart that there were people like him who were against female Moclans because of society, of Moclan society, shunning female Moclans. But, he was ashamed. And he was scared that he was almost going to lose his daughter. And that was very powerful. And this episode, it wraps up with Kelly coming to Clyden and Bortus's and Topa's quarters. And they're all having dinner. And we find out that, it all has to be ratified as far as Moclans seceding from the Union, being kicked out from the Union, and a few other hurdles that have to be worked through. Are, we find that out from Admiral Halsey before the scene too. But in the scene in the Bortus quarters, Clyden and Kelly begin to make amends because Clyden is grateful for what part Kelly played in rescuing Topa and invites Kelly to have dinner with them. And it's a Moclan soup and it's spicy. And one thing we find about Kelly in this episode is that she likes spicy food when she's having dinner with the female Moclans in the sanctuary. They have salsa, and they just call it salsa, hot sauce. And we find out that she likes spicy food. So, there's a nice moment there. And we also find out that Biden and Bortus have renounced their Moclan citizenship. All I got to say, folks, is, and I know I was hard on last week's episode from Unknown Graves. And the reason for that was because I felt that episode was all over the place. It was too busy. There were 4 plot threads going on all at once. This one had 2. This is how it should be in storytelling. You should have 2 plot threads, your A story and your B story. Your A story would be considered Topa and what ends up happening to Topa and how Kelly and Bortus have to go rescue her. the B story about what Heveena and the colonists have been doing against what was agreed upon, and the fact that she has to answer for it by meeting with the Union Council. And that's how it should be. And how those two plot threads come together. That's how it should be. And for this episode, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. This episode was very good. And for any of you parents out there, I would love to hear your reaction. See your reaction in the comments to the scene where Bortus sees Topa and she's sitting in the chair, she's being tortured, and just write your reaction to that scene because I may not be a parent, but even I was like, "Oh no, you don't! No, you don't, sons of bitches! No, you don't." But this episode, to me, is a 4 out of 5. If you want to know what it is out of a 1 to 10 scale, I'm giving it an 8.5. An 8.5 out of 10. That's what it is in a 1 to 10 scale. And a 1 to 5 scale, I'm giving it a 4.5. I know two different numbers, but that's how it is. And that's going to be my score on Nerdporials. So if you've already watched Nerdporials stream, by the time this is all said and done, well, you already know. So definitely recommend this episode. Definitely recommend this episode if you're a parent because of, everything that goes on in this episode. I mean, there's a lot that goes on in this episode. And I really enjoyed it. It was very good. Very good. So I want to thank you all for watching this episode of Pacific Forum 4 episode reviews. And more specifically, this reaction, this review to Midnight Blue, the 8th episode of the Orville's 3rd season, also known as the Orville New Horizons. Thank you all very much. Have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and as always, take care.